Hello guys, this is Tripped Over, but you can call me Daddy. Just kidding. But anyways, today we're going to be summarizing the book, The Great Gatsby. Now, the story's told by Nick Carraway, but in reality, he doesn't really care too much. The story basically starts out where he talks about how during his childhood he learned a lot from his father. Don't judge others before you judge yourself, all that pure garbage. Because in the end, he can say that because he has money. I'm not gonna lie about it. But anyways, the story takes place during the 1920s, which is basically the roaring jazz era. Or, say it properly, the jazz era. Now pretty much, he spoils what happens in the book, like right away. He's like, Great Gatsby was a pretty good guy. So you're like, he's obviously dead. And if you watch the movie, you can go burn in hell, because the movie is horrific, and it is not at all like the book. Just telling you that. Pretty much, after Nick tells you all this garbage about his life, pretty much gets into the nice, juicy part. Basically tells you how he got lucky, he got a house that was right next to Gatsby. He lives in a pretty garbage house compared to Gatsby's, and pretty much anyone else in the neighborhood. But enough about the boring parts. Pretty much one day, he goes over and he gets a call from his cousin. Well, like second cousin removed. So I don't even know what significance that has. But his second cousin removed is Daisy. He goes over there, he's like, it can't be too bad. Gets over there, finds out she's married to a man named Tom. Now I'm not gonna lie, Tom's an asshole. Like, he's pure garbage. Fitzgerald basically wrote this book so you hate Tom immediately. Like, he's that guy who, like, if you're on the beach building the sandcastle, he's that typical, like, dick bully who, like, kicks over your sandcastle and gets sand in your eyes. Like, oh god, I'm blind for life. And you're like, gotcha, bitch. But enough about Tom. Pretty much, Nick goes over there, finds out about it, and there's another lady laying there with Daisy on the couch, and it turns out to be Jordan Baker. Now, you're like, why is this guy building her up to be something so great? She's not really. Like, she's pure garbage too. Like, not as much as Tom, but there's not much to say about her. But, pretty much all four of them, Nick, Tom, Daisy, and Jordan, go out, and they sit on the veranda. If you don't know what a veranda is, it's a rich way of saying sitting on the porch, because, too good to say porch. But they sit out there, they're drinking a little bit, because it's like alcohol times, even though it was the prohibition, which people shouldn't be drinking, but you can't tell people what to do. Anyways, they're sitting there, and Tom gets a call. Tom goes up, picks the call up, and turns out it is his mistress. If you don't know what a mistress is, it's a lady he's been fucking even though he's married. I know, life goals, but not really. But Daisy gets pretty upset. Nick just gets disgusted by the whole incident. He's like, what the heck is this? It's like, this is trash. So he just gets ready to leave. And Daisy also has a baby, but I'll be honest, the baby has no importance till like one scene. It doesn't even matter. So Nick gets ready to leave. And for once, Tom and Daisy are like, oh Nick, I heard you were engaged to a lady out in the West. He's like, no, it's a rumor. So he's lying. Like, Nick's built up to be an honest character, but this is like a lie he's telling. At least it seems like it. Like, he seems very suspicious about it. But anyways, that goes on. And then he's driving away. He's like, I just don't understand why Daisy didn't come running out for child. Just leave Tom. Pure garbage. So he basically goes home. I know you're like, oh, this part must be so important. All that he told me. But no, it's pretty 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 garbage. I don't know what grash is, but whatever. Nick gets home, and he's basically just sitting out on his rolling lawnmower, poor people lawnmower, and he sees this man in his neighbor's lawn, Gatsby's lawn, looking out at a green light, and it is none other than Gatsby. The scene ends right there, pretty much. And then one day, Nick basically goes out with Tom, and he meets his mistress, which is Myrtle Wilson, which is basically the wife of Tom's mechanic. So not only is the mechanic banging on Tom's car to fix it, Tom is banging on Myrtle with his penis in her vagina. True symbolism, am I right? But pretty much they just go out, they bang. Nick just does his own little thing, and I think it's like the first or second time he got drunk. I don't remember, but it's sometime near this. I'm pretty sure it was this time. And I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but you know what? We all make mistakes. And after they bang, Tom full out hits Myrtle right in the nose. Because she's like, why don't you divorce your wife, Daisy? She keeps saying the name Daisy. He's like, Tom's like, did you say me, bitch? And he full out punches her. It's like, God, bring it down a notch. Pretty much Nick is just like, my God, this is disgusting. I'm out of here. And Nick starts turning towards Gatsby. He's like, who is this man? Of all this mystery, all this magic. And one day, Nick gets an invitation to one of Gatsby's parties. And it's full out alcohol party, dancing, and music, like, going on, like, it's the life, pretty much. So Nick gets there, and there's not really much. He bumps into Jordan Baker, but, you know, not much. And he even bumps into Gatsby himself, which Nick's like, I like you, Gatsby. You're not a complete asshole like everyone I know. And in a way, Gatsby's sort of like, you're pretty cool. And he takes Gatsby eventually, after the party like starts dying down, and everyone's like drunk, dead. Gatsby takes Jordan aside, speaks to her. You don't really know what it's about, but you're supposed to assume. But, apparently Jordan's like, oh my God, that's incredible. And, like, time just passes by during the summer. And Nick and Gatsby just begin to know each other. It's like, good friends. Not in a sexual way, because it's gross. That's probably going on during the 1920s, but definitely not a book I would want to read about that. Some people might, but not me. But back on task. So pretty much, summer continues. Nick becomes friends with Jordan. He becomes friends with Jordan. He becomes friends with Gatsby's. And eventually, Nick sort of cuts it off with the lady out in the West. So he was lying about the engagement. And this is when he considers himself one of the few honest people he knows. Because he actually, he's not cheating on anyone. He's not doing anything wrong. So he's sort of like, okay, well, life ain't bad. And pretty much, summer just keeps going on, summertime loving, all that stuff. And one day, Nick and Gatsby, they go out in the town. And this is when Nick meets Mayor Wolfensheim, something like that, something with wolf in it. And he basically finds out that Gatsby's sort of a shady character when it comes to his money. And I should probably explain this now, just to make it easy on you. Pretty much, the Tom lives in East Egg, which is basically the old money people. They get their money from generations and generations of family. West Egg is new money. They get their money through new ways, which is not bad, but at that time it was looked down on. Sort of like the Donald Trump of the time, an entrepreneur doing his own thing. But pretty much Nick finds out that Gatsby's a little bit shady in life. Like this Wolfenstein guy, you learn that he pretty much rigged the World Series. Yeah, he rigs the World Series, and you're like, dang, this guy's shady. Is Gatsby bad? But you know, Fitzgerald writes the book to where you're supposed to like Gatsby, even though he does these bad things, and you're supposed to like hate Tom severely. And you find out just the shady business, like I said. And this is where things get interesting. Because Gatsby reveals to Nick that long ago he had a love, and her name was Daisy. Now, pretty much, you get the assumption that Gatsby's sort of been building up using Nick for this, but you know, you're not really supposed to think that. You're like, oh my god, true love meant to be the light across the pier. It's Daisy's house. It's symbolic. It's love. And Gatsby's like, Nick, help me hit that, brother. Nick's like, I got your back. So pretty much they just arrange a meeting at Gatsby's house. Nick's like, hey, I'm making dinner. Why don't you come see me? Pretty much Daisy comes over, and guess whose house it is? Gatsby's. I mean, there's an awkward moment. Nick basically leaves the room. Gatsby's like, no, you can't leave me here with her. Nick's like, don't be an asshole. Be a man. Grow some balls. Go back in there and bang. He goes in there. Nick comes back, and it's like they're loosened up. They're happy. They're talking like good old friends. This is where they start banging. Like, they don't say it directly, but they're doing it intensely. And you kind of learn to hate Daisy in a little bit. She's like, Nick. Not Nick. She's like, Gatsby, if only I could put you on a pink cloud and push you around. You're like, oh my god, I want to die. It's so terrible. But you know, pretty much their little romantic thing resumes. Not much really happens. But I mean, he just shows her around. Gatsby's like, yo baby, want to see some cool things? And Nick just learns a little bit more about Gatsby himself, about how he came to be, his money, you know, just really nothing much. How Gatsby learned all his things from a man named Dan Cody. Basically took him under his wing. He wasn't a bird, mind you. He was a man, but metaphorically, not literally. Just so you know. But he took him under his wing for about 5 years, and they basically traveled the world. And eventually Cody just dies. Like, he's just dead. You learn that basically Gatsby had become the man that he is now. Like, he built himself up of all this money just for Daisy. And you learn that at the time when Gatsby was in love with Daisy, he went into the military, and Daisy's like, I'm not gonna wait for you. I can't wait for this. I can't do this. And she marries Tom, but he is an asshole. We all know that very blatantly. But like I was saying, Gatsby built himself up to be like worthy to Daisy. And he has her now. They're banging, they're having fun. But you know, in a way, Gatsby, it's a constant reminder that he lost her. And things just keep going on in life. You just learn that from Nick, and that's it. And so pretty much Tom, who's spending a lot of his time with Myrtle, Gatsby with Daisy, they're banging, they're doing gross things, you know, gross like 1920 things. And I don't know anyone who's lived back there then. So I imagine it's probably gross. I've seen, like, I've not seen some things, but I can imagine gross things. Ugh, gross. But pretty much they just keep banging and having fun. And Gatsby basically goes on to tell the past of Daisy the Nick again about he was a young lieutenant. He was in love with her. Well, he wasn't in love with her at first. He was in it for the banging, but he just fell in love. He's like, that booty's so good, I gotta stay for that. And just like I said before about how she moved on. So Summer unfolds pretty much. They just keep loving each other, banging. Eventually, Gatsby goes over to Tom's house, and this is where Tom's like, somebody right here. I don't like this. And he basically picks it up like immediately. Daisy's like, yo, Tom, give me some drinks, you bitch. He's like, Okay. And this is where, like, the nurse brings in the baby, who's, I think the name is Pammy. It's kind of weird. Sounds like Penny. So we'll just call her Penny, like the currency. So Penny comes in, and Gatsby gets quiet. This is the symbolic part, pretty much, that the baby represents all that Gatsby's lost. It's a constant reminder to him that Gatsby was never truly her first choice. Well, not her first choice, but the one that she chose. And this is where sort of that day's a searing hot day, and all five, Nick, Gatsby, Daisy, Jordan, and Tom, yeah, all five of them go to a hotel room. And Tom's sort of like, before they go, he's like, hey, look at my house. Gatsby's like, look at my house. And Tom's like, damn, you showed me up. You got me. So basically they go to the hotel, and this is where Tom admits, he's like, how long you been banging her? And they fight. You know, full things go down. And basically Gatsby's like, she loved me first. And it's revealed pretty steadily. He says, Daisy, tell him that you never loved him. And Daisy's like, well, I did, but not anymore. And pretty much that's it with that part. With, like, the love thing. But this is where things get interesting. Tom gets up and he's like, Gatsby, I know you're a cheat. You're a liar. You're nothing more than a crook and a fraud. And Gatsby's like, oh my god. No, please, don't. His world is destroyed. Daisy's like, oh, never mind. I love you, Tom. This is just like immediate. No, just nothing. I'm not even joking here. Like, she's like, Tom, I love you now. We'd be together if I've ever. And then Tom, in his confidence, he's like, you know what? You know what, Daisy? Why don't you go home with Gatsby? Gatsby can drop you off at home. Because he's destroyed Gatsby's dream. He's done. There's no coming back. So pretty much they drive. And then Nick goes with Tom and Jordan. And it's just an awkward car ride. Like a really awkward car ride. You go one of those car rides if you're driving along and you're talking. If like your parents in the car, they're just like, shut up! I'm trying to drive. It's like, God, just be quiet. I'm sorry. But this is where more interesting stuff happens, as I've said several times before. It's found out that a car has hit Myrtle and just like destroyed her. George is the name of the mechanic, now that I recall. Like, the car destroyed Myrtle completely, full out, just 10 out of 10 sound effects, by the way. You can't make this stuff up. But the car destroyed Myrtle. George is pissed. The car is Gatsby's. He was letting Daisy drive and she just mowed her down by accident. Stereotypical, like, woman driving type of thing. Fitzgerald was on point with his jokes. Like, I'm not even kidding here. And then Gatsby's willing to take the blame. Because, you know, he's like, you know what, I'll take the blame. There's no use in letting Tom, like, kill Daisy over this. Because she's a disgrace. And this is where Tom goes up to George. He's like, I know who killed your wife. And Tom's like, well, not Tom. George is like, I knew this was going to happen. I knew Myrtle was cheating on me. I knew things were going to go wrong. Dr. T.J. Eckelberg predicted it. And if you don't know who T.J. Eckelberg was, because I'm at fault here, I didn't mention it. It's a big, like, poster all over the town that keeps being mentioned. It says Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, and it's like the eyes, and they're supposed to represent, like, the eyes of God. I mean, oh well. Not really too deep here, but pretty much George goes to Gatsby's house. Gatsby's, like, let off all the people who work there. He's swimming in his swimming pool one final time before summer, and he gets just shot up in the pool by George. George takes a gun to his head and he's just like, bye-bye, dead. Nick's just sickened by the whole thing. Tom admits to Nick that he told George, and Nick just can't come to admit to Tom that it was Daisy driving the car. So turns out Nick is gonna go sort of talk to Tom and Daisy. I don't know what it's about. It's nothing really too important, but he gets there and it's turned out that they left like immediately. They were like that gone. So Nick breaks it off with Jordan. He just sort of leaves, lives his life. And one time, eventually, he just encounters Tom by accident one day. And Tom's just like, I told George, yeah, I admit it. And Nick just thinks, what if I told Tom that Daisy was driving? What if I did it? And then Nick starts thinking about the American dream. This is where like the real in-depth stuff comes in. He starts thinking that, in a way, Gatsby was just trying to attain his dream. He was willing to reach his hand up to the stars to try and grasp something that he's had before. But what he was trying to get wasn't the past. Minus that, I'm sorry, but what he was trying to get wasn't the future, it wasn't the present. He was trying to grasp onto the past, which he should have let go. Because in the end, all you can do is keep going forward and try to relent against the continuous pull of the past.